Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing for Tuesday, the 6th of May. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Jonny McFarlane. A little bit late. Jonny's Millennium Falcon was taking a little bit of time to load up, but he's here to join us on the show. Always great to have you on, Jonny. How goes it?
Yes, I got the thrust capacitors working, Derek, and before you knew it, we were in light speed and jetting away from the Imperial Star Destroyer.
Super stuff. Well, yeah, lots to talk about today before we get stuck into all things Rangers and beyond. A quick word for our podcast sponsors, S1 Jobs. If you're looking to hand in your transfer request, head over to S1 Jobs and upload your CV today. There are thousands of jobs across Glasgow, Edinburgh, and the surrounding areas. You'll find the one at S1 Jobs. And remember, folks, if you want to get your points across to myself and Jonny, you have to be a subscriber to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It is totally free. But yeah, hit it. And if you want to get your comments to the pair of us. Right, where shall we start? We'll start with, after Sunday's Old Firm game, pretty forgettable Old Firm. Not much had happened at Ibrox, one apiece between Rangers and Celtic, and as is the norm usually, there is a lot of nonsense that hits the headlines on the days after the game. This time, well, last Old Firm game, it was the Watergate with Václav Černý and his overindulgent celebrations, and this time it's regarding a Tifo that the Union Bears displayed prior to the game. We discussed it yesterday, myself and Chris. When we came off air, we then discovered that it became a police matter, which was that investigation was quickly rounded off and dismissed. And lo and behold, we had the likes of John Swinney having a comment on it as well, which was just bizarre. And we've reached this stage where the Union Bears are now selling T-shirts with the Tifo on it. I'd imagine they'll sell in the bucket loads. But Jonny, you wanted to come on and have your say on this furore. So I'm keen to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, there are things to be getting upset about from the game, but I think that the reaction towards this Tifo is very, very, very far down the list. I think we're going to see today that this Tifo has been deemed not criminal, and I don't think you'll be hearing any more from the police with regards to it. For me, the reaction and the image of multiple police officers with plastic gloves carrying a Tifo out of Ibrox, it's honestly laughable. What is this society coming to that we're wasting police time on something like that? I mean, it's ridiculous. And the one thing I've noticed is this seems to have united people now. At first, people weren't sure how to react on social media. Nobody wants to put a foot out of line. But now I think you're seeing Celtic fans even coming out and saying that this is just getting ridiculous, the amount of discussion that's been taken. There was some serious things that went on at Ibrox, and we shouldn't sugarcoat those.
No.
I think this banner was naughty, but then that's the whole raison d'etre of ultras. You know, would I want to hang that banner on my wall when I had a Celtic pal coming round? Probably not. No. But I mean, this is the rivalry. The rivalry is stoked by this kind of thing. You know, as a guy in my 40s, is it for me? Not really. I mean, I'm a boring old fart. But I can understand why it agitates and excites people in their teens and their 20s. And you know what? I just think there's been an enormous overreaction. And it's just symptomatic of a game that was flat, Derek. There's very little to talk about. There wasn't really any refereeing decisions that stood out as being absolutely ridiculous.
No.
I mean, there was points in the game that both sides will want to discuss and argue and contend with, I would think, but nothing that's going to like drive the news agenda. So what we're left with is this Tifo thing, and I think we're missing the point. The big point to me is bottle throwing, Derek.
Yes.
That absolutely cannot happen. It's happened at multiple grounds now. It's not just Celtic. It's not just Rangers. It's multiple clubs across the SPFL. And I don't know where this behaviour has come from. It's dangerous. and it won't be long before a player is hit in the face with the bottle and some serious damage is done.
Mm.
I believe we're talking about the Tifo and not that, because Scottish football needs to act on this and needs to be protecting the players that are on the pitch. That's just a basic. And this Tifo thing, I don't really want to talk about it anymore, Derek, because I've said my piece, and I don't want to be part of the kind of this news cycle of continually going back over it and over it and over it. I mean, we've even got the First Minister talking about it.
That's a joke. Yeah,
it's a joke. It's bizarre. It was naughty. It wasn't very nice. It's not criminal. Let's move on to serious matters that actually, really deserve scrutiny and really deserve debate. And Banner wasn't one of them. Listen, I think it's important to stress, because I know people are upset about the club's reaction.
Yes.
Sources yesterday. I think there's been a bit of a breakdown there between Rangers, who certainly in the past have always checked Tifos and not left anything to chance. I don't know what's happened this time, whether or not someone said, "What's the Tifo?" It's a Graham Souness Tifo, and they've thought, "Oh, that'll be absolutely fine, no problem at all." They've not really seen or thought about what's in it. I'm not sure, but regardless of that, I think the club have tried to protect themselves, because if you look at the SPFL rules, there are areas in there about banners which may contain offensive or otherwise unacceptable material. And we've seen that the SPFL very, very recently have been starting to act on things like pyro. Are banners next? Are we moving towards a strict liability situation with SPFL? I don't think we're at that stage yet, but I think from the club's point of view, they felt like they had to seem to be making a statement on it. I think the problem with the statement is a large chunk of it was around the bottle throwing, and then a small part of the end was the banner, and then the banners become the.
I don't think if that statement comes out, we're not talking about the banner days on end.
Yeah.
If Rangers don't release that statement, for me, Johnny, bottle, yeah, absolutely, guys should get banned for life, but that from Rangers was an open goal for others who, I said yesterday, they have a disdain for Rangers and they jumped on the bandwagon. Oh, we're offended by that.
It's more. I think it's more, Derek. I don't agree with you on that. That it's a disdain for Rangers. I just think it's a modern bandwagon jumping social media culture of offence and of taking offence. And I don't think it's specific to any club. I think you see it when other clubs do things.
Yeah.
This culture of offence archiving, when you go back into what someone said 3 or 4 years ago, look at you, look what you said.
Yeah.
It's pathetic stuff. It really, really is. It's intellectual barrel scraping, and it needs to be stopped. I'm personally sick of it. Listen. I think in terms of the statement, there's an SPFL element to it. It's not gone down well, and Rangers fans feel like the banner was fine. As I said, from my point of view, the banner was naughty, and you just move on.
I've seen worse banners at games, and
yeah, there's been worse banners.
Yeah.
In this derby, many times. He's been worse banners than other derbies, and they haven't generated this degree of heat. So it's a strange one, but I would put it down to a confluence of circumstances, Derek. You look at that game, and I'm sure we're going to come on to this game.
Yeah.
There was just so little juice in that game. There was so little to get kind of agitated about. Rangers slightly edged the first half. They were a better team in the first half. I think Celtic slightly edged the second half. It was eeksy-peeksy all the way through. I think it was a game that could have gone either way, depending on a mistake or a moment. You saw at the end with Tavernier's pass, the square ball that he plays, a very tired-looking pass. Maida runs through and goal and probably should score. He certainly should score, because he's got two players alongside him. And if he rolls it to his right, he's left that player, I think it was Kenny, with an open goal. So that tells you that it was a game that could have been going either way. But but there wasn't a lot to get upset about in the actual football.
Yeah. It will get in that short. There's lots of comments coming in. We'll get to some of them just now. There's a point that raised, World's Greatest DJ says it, from an artistic point of view, I thought the image of Souness was bang on. Yeah, it's an image from, as we touched on yesterday, and after the game on Sunday, a promo image from the 82 World Cup. So it was very likeable. And talking about Souness, a very happy birthday to the magnificent one. He's 72 years young today. So a very happy birthday to Graham.
I wonder what he's making of all this, Derek. He must be scratching his head. The thing is, that's a very, very, very famous, some would say, and I'd probably say,
I done a t-shirt about 20 years ago. Yeah.
Of Souness from his Scotland days. It was before, obviously, it became a Rangers player and Rangers manager. But it's interesting to me how many people, and it shows you that we're getting old, how many people weren't aware that it was Graham Souness and thought it was someone else, or weren't quite sure exactly what was going on with the banner. But to me, that image is, seared in the brain as one of the great Graham Souness images. And if you saw him flying about a midfield in the mid 80s, you'd know why. Yeah, he didn't need a gun.
Scott says, get Souness on the Rangers review. Would love to have Graham on one day. Maybe, perhaps he'll come on. But hopefully he has a fantastic day. Just went to the Star Wars reference. Kev says, who's Han Solo? Who is Chewie?
Well, you've got the facial hair to be Chewie, and I've got the looks to be Han Solo. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. That will do me. Moving, and this from the game as well. This caught my eye. Jim McCarroll. Before we get on to the actual game events, he says, Derek, I had a nice chat on Sunday with your pal Neil Warnock, a really nice guy and still full of enthusiasm for the game. It was good to see Neil in the stand on Sunday. We all know his love of Rangers. He came up to watch the game, and got a lot of time for Neil Warnock. Did enjoy his little stint when he came up. Was it last season before, wasn't it? He came up and took charge of Aberdeen. It'd be interesting to see if he takes a manager job next season. I know he's at Torquay helping out down there, but there were some saying when they seen him, Johnny, on Sunday, that could that be the Rangers manager in waiting? I think you get long odds on that, I have to say.
Yeah, look, Neil Warnock, what is he now? 70, 73, 74?
Well, in his 70s, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's his career has been and gone. I really like Neil Warnock. I think he's a fascinating, funny, engaging character. It's delighted to see him come up to Scotland and have that wee spell at Aberdeen, although it didn't exactly go very well, did it? As popular as he is around Ibrox way, I think he's similarly unpopular in Pittodrie. So let's just say that he's past his prime, and he's going to probably be welcome at the club anytime when he turns up. Always has good things to say, but I wouldn't be having him as manager, Derek. And listen, in all seriousness, I think it's a bit of a funny one. He's not going to be one of the guys that these highly professional people that are coming in and taking over the club are going to look at. They're going to look at someone young, someone fresh, someone with big ideas about the future of the game, because the game's changed and it's continuing to evolve, and there's going to be big developments over the next few years, I think, with machine learning and data and AI and all these things that are going to change tactics and are going to change how we train players and change sports science, and you need to be at the forefront of that.
Yeah, the game has moved on, but it was good to see Pep invited him in to Manchester City last week, Neil Warnock, and he was in doing a training session with them, which was great to see. I liked the photos of that. Pep is a big admirer of Neil Warnock, as are many others. But moving on.
That's just a low blow from Brian Moore there. A low blow.
Tell you what, David Gray's done, just sticking with him, David Gray's done a cracking job. There's an example of a board sticking by a manager when things aren't going quite so well. And it's turned out to be a good move there from a Hibs perspective. Wonder what that game's going to be like, the end of season game when Rangers go to Easter Road. I have a sneaky feeling it could be another one of those 5-5 affairs.
Well, I was going to say that was the last time that I remember Rangers going there with nothing to play for and it just being a completely bonkers mental game. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens indeed. Specialised Doug says, it's my son Denny's 32nd birthday today. He'll be delighted to know he shares it with the glorious Sooners. Yeah, happy birthday, Denny. Hopefully you have a great day. And big thank you to those that are donating to the channel. We'll touch on this. Two comments about Jefte. It was fair to say Barry was not best pleased about his performance levels in that Old Firm game. It was very animated on the touchline. Magic Man, first of all, says, let's discuss how pathetic Jefte was in that first half. Thanks for the nation, buddy. And David McFarland says, did you guys see when Dessers scores, Jefte head down and sauntered back to his own half with not a flicker of emotion? What's your thoughts, guys? He hasn't really done well since the sort of murmurings at Chelsea were keeping tabs on him, Jonny. January time, I think it was. I think Rangers need a new left back in the summertime. I would like to see Ridvan moved on. Whether they can get a buyer for an injury-prone player remains to be seen. But I think they need to strengthen in that area. Jefte, I think he's a decent player at points. But we need to remember he is still a young lad. He's younger than Robbie Fraser, learning the game. I think he's still... I don't think he would have anticipated playing as many games as he would have at Rangers in his first season. I'm prepared to give him a bit of time. New manager coming in might help him. But what do you make of these comments here? All is not rosy in the Jefte garden, do you think?
I like Jefte as a player. There you go. There's a hot take for you.
Yeah.
I thought he was bad. I thought he was bad in that game. But you know what? He's 21 years old. He's not 22 till December, Derek. So he's a young guy, as you say.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a lot of attributes. Now, at Rangers, there's not a lot of patience. You don't get the time. But I think we're talking about a £500,000 Brazilian who's adapting to Scottish football. You need to give him at least one season to reflect on what's going well and what's not going well. Train on those issues. Keep on working at the stuff that he's good at, which is he's got pace, he's got power. If you look at his profile's terrific. He's got the kind of attributes that Premier League clubs look for. The big problem with him, and the thing that he's going to have to seriously dig deep on, is his defensive nous, Derek. He switches off.
I know.
Doesn't track runners. He's easily beaten at times. But you know what? There's nowhere better than Scottish football to learn some of these things. And you hope that if Jefte can put it all together, then you start to see what his potential suggests he's capable of. And listen, I'm quite happy to say this. If he puts together these aspects of his game, I think Rangers have got a £10 to £15 million fullback on their hands. But
Wow.
It's a big question mark around, can he do it? Can he? Because all the things that he needs to be a top-level player, pace, power, driving forward, that kind of attacking energy, the modern fullback, that's what that he has. So if he can do it, if he can put that together, then I think Rangers can make a big transfer fee off this guy. But there's a huge amount of work to do between now and that point, Derek. So he's still miles off it at the moment.
Yeah.
But a good coach comes in, uses him properly, gets in about him, gets in his head. I absolutely believe that Jefte has got the quality to become a really, really, really big player.
That comment has certainly sparked debate in the comment section. A few interesting points being made. Jamie says Jefte's had no help since Barry came in. No left-wing supporter, centre-half helping him, which is a fair point. I think I know Bayrami was sort of playing out there on Sunday.
I think he's better as a wing-back, Derek. I think if you've got him at wing-back with a left centre-back next to him, you see a different player. I think a 4... he's not got that cover. As I say, he's 21. He's in Scottish football terms, you're saying Robbie Fraser's older than him. Robbie Fraser's a complete kid. You know, we just think of Robbie Fraser as, well, you know, and that's wrong. We kind of, in Scottish football, we tend to infantilize young players, and we tend to think that they're younger than the kind of age when they could be exposed to first team football.
Yeah.
But I think Jefte is a guy with massive talent. There's a reason that Chelsea were looking at him. It's because he's a big, physically powerful guy, and he's dead quick, and he's got that attacking penetration. Now, Is he there yet? No, of course he's not there. But there's potential there, and for 500 grand, I think he's a terrific signing.
Rangers will make money on him. I think of that there is no doubt, but he has to improve. This is an interesting point as well. Andrew says Derek Jefte is struggling, as says the whole team. Yeah, agreed with that. I'm sure if he'd been winning more games, then he would have a different body language. I think it's fair to say we're just wanting these final 3 games done and dusted, and then look forward to what is a big summer of change at Ibrox. Just on the left-back situation, Bob says, I see Feco's been sold. Yeah, that was confirmed yesterday. He's joined Exeter on a permanent deal after spending a season on loan down there. I actually seen him earlier in the season when he came up to Bolton and played. I thought he was really good. Big physical centre half. He was playing there at the time on the left-hand side. He was injured when I went down there on New Year's Day, I think it was, to the game, which was unfortunate. He was just coming back from injury. I think he was an unused sub that day, but wish him well in his career. I don't think it was ever going to make it at Rangers, but I think League One in England, I can see him doing very well there. Heller with a point says, Big Clinton be a shout for left back. Speaking to Chris yesterday on the centre half situation, Jonny, I know we discussed this last week on John Souttar. Will he or won't he sign a new deal, and how many defenders Rangers need? I think they need a whole new back line, in all honesty, right back, left back. Probably 2 centre backs, but Clinton Enciala can certainly be one of those in consideration, certainly for centre half. But this shout from Heather, could he be an option at left back, perhaps?
I'm not sure. I think he's quite physically imposing, and I see him as a left centre back or centre half more readily. Listen, the thing about Rangers is, and again, this gets back to what I was saying about Jefte. You do need someone who is an attacking powerhouse, because so much of Rangers is about going up against the low block, breaking that down, having quick feet, being able to move the ball fast, having a shot on you, ability to go beyond your man, have a trick. You know, fullbacks at Rangers, there's going to have to be a blend of qualities, and that's the problem, because it's a blend of challenges, and not everyone is going to be the perfect fit for that, because there's so much gap between, say, for example, playing against Celtic and then going up against someone like St Johnstone. You've got the European performances, you've got the bread and butter of Kilmarnock away on a plastic pitch. It's difficult, and I think a Rangers fullback for me in the modern era has to be someone that first and foremost is an attacker. That's why I've always been kind of thinking that maybe the right move for Rangers is to go down the road of a 3 at the back system. I think Barry's flirted with it this season, used it to reasonable effect, but I don't think the club have the players at the moment to make that really, really work. And I think, as you say, more players have to come in. 2 centre backs, I completely agree with that.
Could Casemiro be one?
Balogun is going to be able to do another season, Derek. I hope he is, because when he is fit, he doesn't look too diminished to me. Still looks quick, still looks capable. He's got injuries all the time, though. But I would keep Leon Balogun probably around the place, depending on what the medical people are saying. But if Rangers were to get 2 really, really strong centre backs in, then I think all of a sudden a lot of these players in that squad who are younger players and making their way in the game, I think they look a lot more competent, because they're around steady guys who are top professionals who know the game, and it gets guys that little bit of insurance policy, that little bit of confidence the guys they're playing with can allow them to flourish.
Yeah, would you be inclined to see Casemiro next season at Rangers?
Derek, do you know what? I really like him, but
yeah, me too.
It's one of those ones where don't this club have to get away from signing players that might or might not be a good signing based on injury? I just think there's been too many that have gone wrong.
Sort another loan out, I think I'd be all on board for that. If they can sort another loan.
Yeah, if you could sort out another loan, there's a potential there. But if you look at Casemiro's record, he's had injuries for the last few years. It's not like this is a guy who's had a one-off injury. So I'd be reluctant, Derek, and it would depend on what was available in the market. There's no doubt, to me, he looks like a good player. He's got the physicality. He looks made for Scottish football. But you're always going to have that kind of brutality element to this Scottish game that's going to test the guy who's injury prone. And it's a big factor in any player you bring into Rangers. Are they robust? Can they cope with 65 games a year? Can they cope with the refereeing leniency that you get up here? Can they cope with the impact on their joints that playing on plastic pitches that the cold weather's going to have? These are all factors that need to be taken into consideration. And I've got to be honest, that's why probably I would say probably no.
Right, moving on. This is an interesting point. The embargoed Cyril Dessers interview came out yesterday. David with the point here. Do you think Dessers had a fair point about 47 goals? I personally think if more contributed, we wouldn't have this chat about him getting him out. Thoughts? So I'll read you what he had to say, folks. He was asked in the press conference, you have 25 goals, but there are times when you're still criticised at times. He says, I think if 2 years ago, the day I signed, you would tell the fans this striker is going to score 47 goals in 2 seasons, I think everybody would have said, oh, yes, please. And I did it until now. Could it have been more? Probably yes. Could it have been less? Probably yes. So I'm just trying to do my job. It hurt me a lot in the beginning, talking about the criticism, but now I kind of moved past that and I'm just focusing on myself, helping my teammates out, helping the team out. But I think if you put it that way, I think in a team with a lot of ups and downs, to score 25 goals, I think that's a good achievement and I'm proud of that. What did you make of what Cyril had to say, Jonny? Another crossroads that he will be reaching in the summertime. Depends if A, Rangers receive a bid that they are happy with, and B, the new manager coming in, whether he likes what he sees and he wants to keep him around as well. But so it took his goal well on Sunday, I thought, after being pretty anonymous in that first half.
Look, Dessers does have a good record. But for me, he's a player that goes hot and cold. He's mercurial. And if you're a manager, I'm not wanting to take a gamble on whether I'm going to get a 2 out of 10 this week or a 10 out of 10. For me, he's not consistent enough to be a Rangers player that is successful over the long term. At 30, given his records, I think you can still sell him and bring in some cash, and he's on a large wage. So to me, if the offer is out there and you can cash in, you cash in. You can replace Cyril Dessers with Lawrence Shankland, who is available for free. So it's very, very good for the finances to do it like that. And I think Lawrence Shankland's a better player than Cyril Dessers. I think he's a more consistent player than Cyril Dessers. Well, and I think he, as another Scot, he would add to the European requirements for homegrown players.
I think
that's a no-brainer.
Hasn't been this season, Shankland.
The thing about Lawrence Shankland this season, he's been playing as a number 10. I know you don't watch a lot of Hearts, but I run a Hearts website as part of what I do in my job. So I'm reading Hearts content every day, and fundamentally, one of the main reasons why Neil Critchley has been binned as Hearts manager is because he has been playing Shankland in that number 10 role. The first thing that the new manager, albeit Liam Fox's only interim, has done is say, enough of that, Shankland at number 9, he scores a double.
Yeah.
So, listen, I know this is now getting to the stage where it's annoying people as well, but Dessers for me is just not good enough baseline in terms of his consistency to be retained by Rangers. I respect him as a guy. I respect him for his mentality. I respect his records. But in the big games, I just don't trust that what you're going to get. And his goal was terrific. Brilliantly taken. But I didn't think he contributed almost anything. The ball doesn't stick. I think he's easy to play against for centre-halves. He's not really got the pace to terrify them going in behind. He's not really got the power to terrify them in a duel. So you're kind of left with this hybrid player. And listen, it just comes down to opinions. And I just don't think Cyril has got the juice that you require to be a Rangers striker where you're going to be the top man. Now, people might say to me, could he not be number 3? Is he not a guy that you can bring on in some of these games? And I take that on board, but you've got to look at the value that he still retains. And if you keep him for another season, that's gone. Or it's diminished to a level where it's almost non-existent. So I think now's the time, and I would certainly move him on.
Yeah, on his future, he said he wants to be part. He definitely want to be part here next season. I signed here with a clear intention. I said like last week at the press conference as well. I want to win trophies with Rangers. Stay here for a few years, build on something. That's my intention. So we know there was a bid. Was it Atlanta United last summer that he wasn't too keen on? So whether there are bids in the summer for him again, who knows?
I would be surprised if there wasn't MLS interest in the summer, because there has been consistent MLS interest in this player for quite some time. It's one thing converting interest into actual hard offers. But if you look at Cyril Desso's highlight reel, Derek, if you're not looking at every single game like we are, sometimes twice.
Oh, you can make him look like Ronaldo.
It's a very, very different picture. And especially when you look at games like Celtic, Manchester United, he's got goals in big games this year, and that'll also stand him in very good stead. Yeah.
I noticed you started this comment you wanted to address, Jonny, just on the defensive option that we were just speaking about as well. Nicky says, so after a season of failure, you guys want to keep a 36-year-old centre-half who's always injured and a lone player who's had 3 knee injuries. Have we learned nothing? What's your response to this? I talked about Balogun yesterday. I think he's a good club man. Someone you need experienced pros in there. If they're not playing every week, they're good to have around the place, and they help the young lads. And he's dependable. Thought he was excellent on Sunday. Whenever he's called upon, he never lets you down. Cash and Wiro, I've said it before. If they can get another loan deal for him, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Your views on that, Jonny?
Yeah, well, as I say, I understand what you're saying with Casemiro, but I don't agree. I wouldn't take a risk on that. I agree with Nicky on that front. But with Leon Balogun, there's more to it than just he's 36. Yes, he is injury prone, and he will be injury prone next year if you sign him up again. Of course he will be. That's certain. But Leon Balogun is a great guy to have around. He never, ever lets you down. And when he's playing, doesn't matter if it's big match or small, he's got the right mentality. I think that's going to rub off on people. You need a balance of different types of people in a squad. And experience is so important. Not just experience of the game, but experience of the club and experience of the league. And Balogun's got that. He's won titles. He's a guy that I think, despite the injuries, is still pretty quick, pretty mobile for his age. And look, he's not expensive. So I think as one of 5 centre-halves, Leon Balogun is just a straightforward one for me, and I would definitely keep him around.
So would I. Before we wrap up, there's a great piece on the website this morning from Chris just on the big questions Rangers face with regards to the managerial search. Sort of comes off the back of Barry saying in his press conference on Sunday, he said, before you know it, there's qualification games for the Champions League. Then there's the season's upon you. There's a lot of work to be done. The club need to make a decision about who's going to be leading the team pretty soon. I think that's evident, Jonny, with what is coming up for Rangers with those qualifiers. The fact they need to build a title-winning squad. Chris did say in that piece we're still a few weeks down the line with regards to the takeover. But a new manager, we all need to see change there soon. Do you expect a new manager to be announced soon? Are we expecting until the end of the season then a new manager is put in place?
We're not hearing anything, Derek, about the new manager at the moment. I think Chris wrote in his piece today that he's expecting it to be a new face, someone different to lead a new era. So I think that would mean it's unlikely that Steven Gerrard's coming back. I was quite taken by that aspect of it, but I know Chris is very well informed in these matters. So that's interesting to me. I would like to see someone with some understanding of the British game, some experience of the British game, who can show tangibly that they can build a side to win leagues, whether that be the Championship in England or working in the Premier League. I'm not sure. I think obviously you start to get into very, very, very expensive managers at that stage.
Yeah.
But there has to be someone that can deal with the two challenges that this Rangers side face, which is playing a different style in Europe against Celtic to the style that you play in domestic football. That's the thing that keeps on coming back and keeps on kind of punching whoever the manager is in the nose over the last 3 or 4 years. There isn't that marriage. In the way that Walter Smith was a pragmatist, in the way I think Barry's talked about the Rangers manager needing to look at the challenge that they face from game to game and to have a squad that allows them to change up to face those challenges in a different way. To me, that's really, really important. And I'm not sure this club will ever really suit an ideologue manager. We've had a few now, a few of the kind of guys who have the very fixed mindset about the way they want their team to play, and I'm not sure that's a good fit for the style, Derek. I mean, I don't know what you think in terms of the challenge. I mean, how can you have this kind of absolutely rigid approach?
It's proven to be failed the last few managers, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think you saw with the Gerrard era, which is the last seriously successful season that Rangers had, the 55 year, there was an adaptation from this side that Gerrard built in the first season that was capable in Europe but not capable of grinding out victories throughout the whole of the season. And then the next year, I think he changed it. He went to those 2-10s, remember, by the end of the season or towards the end of the season, and it started to kind of click, right, okay, we need to get more men forward. We need to find a way to break down the low block. And then, obviously, you go into that third season and you win every single game pretty much. I think, was it 8 draws or something like that in the 55 season? But won every other game, didn't lose a single game. And that was an evolution over time with Steven Gerrard and his tactical team working out how to deal with Scottish football. The next manager is not going to get that level of time. They're not going to get 2 seasons to kind of work it out and on the third season win it. It needs to be someone that is, at the very, very least, deep, sustained challenge in season 1 and a cup, and then season 2 title. That's the minimum requirement. And even then, if you don't win the league, any season at Rangers, you're under pressure. We know that.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely important with whoever comes in.
Yeah, that's an interesting point from Ross. I noticed this yesterday. Says Ralph Hasenhüttl just been sacked by Wolfsburg, has Red Bull links, and I thought he did a decent job at Southampton. The
Very good manager.
Yeah, the thing is, whoever comes in, they have to be acutely aware that they need to win every single game. It's not okay to go up to Dingwall, Pittodrie and be happy with a point. So they need to get someone in that is well versed in the demands expected at Rangers. And of course, the new guys coming in, I imagine they'll be expecting to challenge for the title from the off. And
I like the idea of that, actually. There's something about a manager that kind of plays that high pressing game. I feel like I don't know what you think, mate. There's something about a DNA with every club. And that kind of heavy metal Austrian, German style, I think kind of fits the DNA of Rangers. Hard work, aggression, power, overwhelming the opposition. It's not this kind of tippy-tappy, just control the ball, control the game stuff. It's heavy metal football. And I think someone like that could really come in and it would capture the hearts and minds of the Rangers support.
Hasenhüttl for Jonny, which is be an interesting shout. Mr. B says Jurgen Klopp. He also has Red Bull links. Imagine Jurgen Klopp get the job, Jonny.
Not sure about Jurgen. Has he got the CV, Derek?
I think I'd give him an interview and then see how he performs in that. If he's got a good PowerPoint presentation, then perhaps I'd give him the job. But I think the sooner Rangers get someone in, the better. The work for next season should have already begun with regards to the on pitch. Now,
it's important, Derek. But I think from what we're aware of, I think Kevin Thelwell's been in
Yeah.
and been very, very, very active behind the scenes already for at least a week.
Yeah.
As to how he's balancing that with Everton, perhaps Everton have just put him on gardening leave and he's been able to get the ball rolling. So I think there is things happening. I believe approaches are being made. I think Greta Steinson has been absolutely at the front of all this, and I think there's a plan in place. I know there's a sort of temptation to be, oh, the season's coming, we're not organised. I think there's a fair bit of organisation behind the scenes, and I don't think this is going to be, we can't do anything until all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed on this takeover.
Yeah,
I think it's all happening.
Yeah.
You know, and I know Barry sort of came out and said, oh, we need to see stuff going, but it's not quite as simple as that. You know, there's a lot of moving parts in terms of the budget, in terms of what's going to happen with this takeover first and foremost. If you bring in a manager right now, but ahead of the takeover, they're going to. I mean, that wouldn't happen anyway because there's still 3 games left of the season for Barry to deal with. Yeah. Once that gets out of the way, I think then we can start to say pre-season starting in 6 weeks or pre-season starting in however many weeks. This needs to be sorted. But I have full faith that behind the scenes, things are very, very much happening.
Yeah. Interesting. There was a comment there from Mark says it'd be interesting to see our budget. I know Parag Marathi has been speaking after Leeds' glorious open-top bus parade yesterday, which the crowds lined the streets down there in Leeds. Everyone had a jolly good old time down there. And he said that they'll spend as much as they possibly can with regards to making Leeds competitive in the Premier League. And he also confirmed that Daniel Farke will be the manager at the club next season. It comes after rumours that they were maybe thinking about dismissing the German coach after leading them to promotion, but he will be getting a crack at the Premier League, which is the right call. I think it would be extremely harsh if they were to sack Daniel Farke, but he's another manager, incidentally. If he wasn't at Leeds, I think his name would be linked to the Rangers job. He's someone that I also played that sort of same brand of exciting up and atom football. But yeah, Andrew says it was crazy down in Leeds yesterday. It absolutely was. They enjoyed themselves and then some. Right, we'll wrap up there, I think. But a big thank you to you all for tuning in to the show as ever. Bumper show always is when Johnny's on. So thank you to Jonny for
coming on. Does that mean I go on a little bit too much, Derek? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you came armed with hot takes as ever,
yes.
Which is much appreciated. Yeah,
I feel like that Jefte one's going to get clipped up.
Yes,
I'm fine with it. I stand by it.
Yeah,
bring it on. Bring
it on. Those of you that are extra members on the YouTube channel will record our Q&A this afternoon. Usual time, 2:00. So get your questions in, folks. I'll pop the link on the community page a little later on. So we'll speak to you then. If I don't hear from us before then enjoy your Tuesday, whatever you are up to, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.